The ballot box is probably the best place we can go because a lot of the elected officials are violating their oaths without any accountability. So we need to restore the Republican form of government where the people have the power.
Welcome to another episode of Conservative Talk Chicago. I'm your host, Jack Novak. Along with my team, we post weekly episodes that include interviews and commentary reviewing the most important political issues without the liberal bias of mainstream media. If you're as frustrated as we and find that most mainstream news is disingenuous, then welcome to Conservative Talk Chicago. We welcome your questions, concerns, and ideas. Please send them by email to talktome@conservativetalkchicago.com. At this time, I'd like to introduce our special guest. My guest grew up on the streets, and while a youth, found himself making poor decisions, including joining a street gang. Consequently, he then dropped out of high school and eventually found himself arrested and incarcerated. It was during this incarceration that he realized his path was counter to his aspirations, and he forged a new commitment to change life's trajectory, to fight for every opportunity, to never give in to despair, and to make something more of himself. He earned his GED, then went on to earn a paralegal certification, and as well as real estate and mortgage broker's licenses. He continued his education and went on to earn a bachelor's degree in paralegal studies. After graduation, he became a catalyst for change, becoming the third vice president and chairman of housing for the NAACP. He is married, has 5 children, and 3 grandchildren. He has a passion to help others who are also incarcerated to help turn their lives around. He subsequently became a marketplace minister. His ministry goals to bring faith, ethics, and service into the marketplace instead of just behind church walls. To this end, he founded AWJ Ministries and the Hood Church podcast, using biblical truth and relatable life experiences to empower the current and formerly incarcerated to become believers in a better life through Christ's teachings. Seeing a need and drawing from his own experiences in both the Illinois Department of Corrections, the IDOC, and with street organizations, he went on to create an online and in-print magazine dedicated to the millions of people and their families who have been incarcerated in the United States. In 2014, he founded the Ex-Offender magazine, a quarterly publication sponsored by the Consumers Action Resource Group, CARG. A quarterly journal about human rights, history, politics, and culture. It seeks to inform and educate. Its emphasis is on solutions to problems that plague low to moderate income families through informative and rehabilitative studies of hope and redemption. He is a self-proclaimed abolitionist, an activist, and advocate. He serves as the Director of Litigation, Advocacy, and Strategy at the For the People LLC, a public interest law firm committed to justice. He's a member of the National Lawyers Guild, New Illinois, the National Conference for Black Lawyers, the Conservative Caucus, and the National Police Accountability Project. I could go on, but I think I've made my point, and it's time to hear from our guest himself. So, without further ado, let me introduce Andy Williams Jr., Republican candidate for Illinois Attorney General, who wants to bring real change to Illinois. Welcome, Andy, to Conservative Talk Chicago.
Welcome. Thank you, Jack, for having me.
It's my pleasure. Andy, there's a lot of questions out there people have for your candidacy, what you stand for, why you're running. Okay, so let me get into the meat of it, ask you some questions. You've advocated for justice for those incarcerated. You've worked to promote faith-driven collaboration between law enforcement and communities. You advocated for empowering your members through the MEAL program, mentorship, entrepreneurship, apprenticeship, and leadership. You've also promoted social enterprise to reduce poverty, stimulate economic growth, and job creation in low-income and poverty-stricken communities. There are very ambitious programs. Can you elaborate on what were your motivations to form programs like these, and how the opportunities created from these programs impacted the lives of ex-felons and their families?
Well, my motivation is really driven by seeing all the problems that happen without solutions. So I'm a good researcher, avid researcher, and I look at other things that have worked. And for the meal program, which is called Lead 'em now, because I had to put discipleship in there because that was missing. But Father Greg Boyle, a Jesuit priest out of L.A., Homeboy Industries, he has the model that I'm talking about. It's the biggest gang reentry in the world. And he's, allowed other people to duplicate that model.
What do you mean by gang reentry?
So, I mean, gang deactivation and
Okay.
reentry is what it is. He has the best models. I mean, gang deactivation. In fact, last week I was at a convening and a guy from LA had been through his program, and it talks about getting to that anger and the root of where the anger and stuff comes from. And without having that, we're just going to keep having this cycle repeat every generation or every time over and over again. So there has to be a solution for that. And myself, my own lived experience coming through that whole cycle, I can relate to it. So that is, where it the whole thing comes from. Me living it, researching, seeing what has worked in other communities, and wanting to bring it back to my state. So that's the big thing.
Okay. So when you talk about deactivation or reentry of gang members, you're talking about how they leave the gangs and how they reintegrate back into society, or how does that work?
So the gang deactivation is a change of the mindset. So, because a gang can be anything. When you look at the label of it, group of people coming together. But not everybody that's associated with a gang does bad things. It's just the community, the neighborhood that you grow up into. I was involved in a gang and I was a drug dealer. Like, that was the main thing that I did. Which I'm not saying that's a positive thing. But when we talk about gang deactivation, you have to renew your mind. And once you renew your mind, and then you understand what economic is, which is a Republican form of government, the right to self-govern. So now you say, well, I can be an entrepreneur. I can run a business. I can take care of my family. And a lot of the people that are associated never had that family structure. So we're asking somebody to be something that they're unfamiliar with, and we're not willing to teach them how to be that because we're judging. So I come in and say, let me show you how to change your mindset. And you can relate to me because I've been there. I was a leader in the gang. So that's what I mean by the gang deactivation. You're changing your mindset. It's the Bible verse, that talks about that. Do not conform to the patterns of the world, but renew your minds by the reading of the word. So you read it, then you apply it, and you're like, I can be different. I can do different. I know better now, so I can do better.
How many people have you helped with this system?
I wish I kept track, but I don't. I don't. Okay. I've been doing this even before I was even doing this, I was doing this. When I left the negative lifestyle of the gang, I went into the mortgage business, and all throughout the Illinois Department of Corrections, if you were paroling back to, Aurora, my area around there, said, go see Andy. And I was part of this prison fellowship with Chuck Colson, but it was a group of men from my church, Calvary Church. They gave me all these suits and stuff. So you would come out of jail, maybe you're not getting in the mortgage business, but you need some suits, some ties. And I got all these fancy suits that I done picked up from the men's fellowship group I was a part of. So it was just like, Andy's the guy. He's the one that changed and really did change and is doing it and is living it. So, I mean, that started back in 97, 99.
Wow, that's before Jim Mendrick was doing that with his jail, because he's giving away suits too. But that's only been in the last 8 years since they implemented the program. You've been doing it for a lot longer.
Yeah, a lot. I had articles written about me in 2006 in Beacon News. But Mendrick is the model of Homeboy Industries.
Really?
He is the exact same model. Because I toured the jail twice, but the first time I toured the jail, I went back to talk to Michael Beery, from the Just Us Do page. For 3 hours, we sat, and I listened to him. And that was, which I've met Father Greg Boyle from Homeboy Industries, but Mike Beery, he was my Father Greg Boyle. He was the one that was right here, that got it, that understood it, that could relate that. And for me, I think that should not only be in every county jail, it should be in every prison, but I also think it should be outside the prisons. Like, that's a model that if we did that, it allows prevention, intervention, and redemption. And Mendrick has the program. He has it.
So I take it you support Jim Mendrick?
100%. 100%. I get some flack sometimes. Oh, well, he's this, he's that. Listen, there's 4 million people in Illinois that has a conviction or a record. Another 30,000 in prison. That's 1/3 of the Illinois population. Do you know what happens when they're able to get those services? We can rebuild our own communities because the whole individual has been rebuilt. That is why you want somebody with lived experience that can really get to the root of the issues, and that's what Mendrick has done, not by lip service, but by fruit.
It sounds to me like he should be governor so he can pick this thing. He can mandate this throughout the state.
When Mendrick is governor, what that allows the state to do, which people are not looking at, is for every dollar that was invested into that program, it saved the taxpayer $19. For every dollar that's invested into that program, it saves the taxpayers $19
Because of no recidivism?
because no recidivism, because they're getting the counseling, because it's other things that you don't even see, that the individual is free. So now they're taking care of their families, male and female. That brings the family unit together. That's what that does. There's entrepreneurs coming out of there. Like it's so important for something like that to happen because you won't have 30,000 people in the Department of Corrections. You can reduce that number at least by 30, 40%. So now, and one of the issues behind it is what happens to the people that are downstate that depend on this income. Will you turn those facilities into vocational centers? That's what you do. You don't say, I'm going to get rid of your job, because I know that's a fear. I read about that when Blagojevich was the governor, and he was talking about shutting prisons down or whatever he was saying. They were like, well, this is our livelihood, right? Because you didn't have another plan. And the plan is to say, listen, we can turn some of these prisons into life empowerment centers. And that's what I would see, and it would change the way they look at our state.
You know, I never even thought about recidivism until you and Jim Mendrick are talking about it and pushing it. Yeah. It is something to really think about because it can make a huge difference, not just in the lives of the prisoners that come out of jail, but also to everybody else who is complaining about the cost of prison, the cost of incarceration. I mean, there should be a better way, a smarter way of doing things.
Right. There's a conservative called Smarter on Crime out of Texas, and most people don't know, but Newt Gingrich is the big advocate for reentry. In fact, it is through the conservative model that I learned the Constitution only has 3 crimes: treason, counterfeiting, and piracy. Really? I would have never learned that. I never would have learned that until I went down to the Freedom Fest with Charlie Kirk last December with his Freedom Fest. And I looked and I said, you know what? Reentry is nowhere in these circles, you know? So I thought about that. And then I started looking at the conservative model for reentry, the over-criminalization, the lack of fiscal responsibility in all this. And I'm like, yo, this is so beautiful for me. Specifically, that there's other people advocating for reentry, but there's no solution behind it. There's no real getting to the root of it. And so when I saw it from the conservative model, I saw this would be a great opportunity to really make some change in our great state of Illinois.
And our state of Illinois needs all the help it can get. Andy, from what I've read, you've had many life experiences, which you just told me just now, you know, how you've come up and the things you've done. I mean, you founded ministries to help ex-felons, or as you call them, the justice impacted.
Yes.
You co-founded National Coalition for Prisoner Voting Rights, if I recall, and the Radical Republicans. Okay, in 2021, you led a legitimate, let's call it a legal challenge in Northern Illinois as a private attorney advocating and confronting the 13th Amendment's lingering ties of slavery. Okay, you also started a quarterly magazine intended to help those struggling to get back on their feet after their experience in the system. I mean, you're definitely an advocate for these formerly incarcerated. If elected, in what ways will you use the office of Attorney General, not just for the citizens of the state of Illinois, but to promote some of the ideals and some of the things you want to see changed?
Well, I would say if elected, Article 1, Section 11 of the Constitution talks about the right to restoration. That's what needs to happen into the Department of Corrections. In fact, if we did this as soon as you got into the county jail, like Sheriff Mendrick does, which that's a constitutional right, Article 1, Section 11, it just would be statewide because it's already written into the Constitution. It's important that we understand the Constitution was created by the people. So it's in the preamble. So the people are saying this is what we want. In some way, shape, or form, we've gotten away from that. So if I'm elected to Attorney General, I 100% will uphold my affirmation to the Constitution, which is the right to restoration, which from a fiscal standpoint, it will help out the whole state.
And you stated that our legal process is in need of a reset. You proposed some radical perspectives, such as promoting a new republic, a new government, prioritizing people over governments. You've also stated that the nature of the revolution is for the people to create a new government based on accountability, compassion, love, and reversal of power dynamics. Our nation was founded on the rule of law, which is supposed to prioritize common sense adherence to laws meant to safeguard the people and create equitable circumstances which to conduct business and define relationships. Are you calling for insurrection or the abandonment of the rule of law? And if not, what are you advocating with your statements?
I'm advocating for the people to exercise their rights and declare our independence from a tyrannical government. Move to Illinois and you might see exactly what I'm saying and why I'm saying this. But it's not an insurrection. It's a right. And it's a right that's written right there in the Declaration of Independence. It's the right of the people to alter, abolish, and form a new government when any government has went away from its original intent or its original purpose. So I'm just exercising for the people to use their rights, and you can use that right at the ballot box by electing conservative candidates or candidates that really want to uphold their oath or their affirmation to the Constitution.
So you're basically saying that you propose everybody should go to the ballot box to exercise their right based on the needs of the people, not the needs of government systems that are in place right now.
Correct. And unfortunately, right now, I feel like the ballot box is probably the best place we can go because a lot of the elected officials are violating their oaths without any accountability. So we need to restore the Republican form of government where the people have the power.
Okay. Well, Andy, as Attorney General, how would you advocate, how would you promote holding the people in power that are abusing or misusing their position, or at least a semblance of abusing their position? How would you determine and enforce accountability?
So as I mentioned earlier, the Constitution talked about treason. And treason for me is when you war against the Constitution. So the Constitution sets this out. If you violate your oath, you're warring against the Constitution, which requires a civil death. So you're no longer in office. If you can imagine if elected officials lost their position because the people, which they were entitled to due process. So you get a hearing and the people said, no, you did violate your oath because this is what the Constitution said. And you stepped outside of that and did what you wanted to do. Then we would see the government by the people for the people. So I just want to uphold what the original intent of government was. And the first act that was ever passed by Congress was the Oath Act. I think it was 1789. And it said, I swear to uphold and affirm the Constitution. I just want you to do what you said you're going to do. When you say you're going to run for office, you get elected, do your job. And you're only supposed to be in these positions with good behavior, when you do what's right. And I'm just being real. There's a lot of elected officials that are not operating in good behavior.
Well, that brings me to an interesting perspective and question for you. If people have taken this oath to uphold the Constitution, to uphold the office that they're elected to work in good faith for the people, what would you say about Pritzker, about Johnson, about people that are telling the citizens to rise up and promote public anarchy against federal agents, and then on top of it, tell the local law enforcement not to go out and protect those agents, but to stand down and let the people be anarchists? What would you say about that?
So I really want the people to be educated on what really was going on behind the scenes. And I think it's a lot more that we, the people, don't know about. But one thing I would say is, if I tell you to come on over here to my country, because I'm going to give you all these resources and services, then when you get here, then somebody else begins to attack you, say, look, you weren't supposed to be here and I'm going to arrest you. Who is the real one at fault there? Those that told you to come over here. So I feel we're looking at it at the wrong way, and the ones that should be held accountable is Brandon Johnson, Pritzker, and anybody else. Because what they're doing is entrapping people. That's what they're doing. They're saying, come here, we're going to give you these resources, which again, I'm not looking at it from being in the room. So I never heard them say it. I just know what they're saying to the law enforcement, to the people, will do this and do that. And I'm just asking, where's the due process for the regular people that are Illinoisans? They don't even get the due process. And I know from lived experience. So you're advocating for a foreigner, but you're not upholding your oath to the actual Illinoisans.
Well, the fact that government has brought in people they shouldn't have and made promises they shouldn't have, that's one aspect. But then when you have these same politicians telling the citizens where they can find federal law enforcement, to stand up to them, to put them in harm's way and put themselves in harm's way too. Don't you find that wrong as well?
That's the insurrection that you're talking about.
Correct.
They're doing it. And again, for me, that is where the accountability comes in, and those are the ones where the handcuffs should belong on, because it's a deprivation of rights, 18 U.S. 241, 242. That's what they're doing, and they're putting all of us, the citizens, the Illinoisans, in jeopardy by doing that. You know, so I do feel like, which I don't know because I have not seen it or heard about it, but I think with all the funding going towards the federal agents, I think there also could be some funding going to making the process a lot simpler for those who do want to come here legally or lawfully. So I think there could have been some investment into that as well, because some people do come here and want to do it the right way, but then, the cartels and all this other legal stuff, that, boy, if we really open up that door and saw what really was going on, I think a lot of us would have a different, conversation about this, especially with all the sex trafficking and human trafficking that's being involved in all this, why there's such a push behind this illegal being here.
Well, it's not just the illegals, but most of the illegals that the ICE is going after are criminals.
Right.
Okay, and they shouldn't be here in the first place. In fact, if we'd used the process in place that's been in place for decades, they would never have been allowed in, because they should never have gotten out of the jails, in insane asylums, whatever else institutions they were in the first place.
Right.
So we wouldn't have been in this situation. So to summarize, you're saying that not only should Pritzker and Johnson and people that are in government be held accountable for making promises and bringing people in that they shouldn't have in the first place, but they should also be accountable for promoting this insurrection and this anarchy against other U.S. citizens, federal agents, and people, and also for putting their own people in harm's way by telling them to show up to a situation that they know would get out of control. But instead of telling the citizens to stay home, not get involved, let them do their job, they told them go out there and create havoc.
That's called RICO.
It's called RICO.
That's what a criminal enterprise does, and they're aiding and abetting and exciting the riot. It's every element of RICO.
Well, it sure seems to me like we need to change our local government, our state government right now, and City of Chicago government too, if we're going to promote that.
100%. And while that needs to change, I really believe it's really the judicial system and the prosecutorial system, because the judge should be a neutral arbitrator, should be the one that you go to uphold the oath. And these are things that are happening right now that any right-minded advocate, attorney, citizen, one of the people should be able to go to the judge and say, listen, this is wrong. They're violating their oath of office. This is treason, and we want them removed.
I couldn't have said it better. That makes sense, Andy.
And just quick, the Department of Justice, that's what they were created for. The DOJ, to protect. Originally, it was created to protect the rights of the newly freed Negroes and the descendants. But then it was like, that's what they were created for, but it's for all of the people. That's what it is. It's a neutral office. And I think that's what really needs to happen.
You're right. We need to go back to that model. Can't be compromised. So, Andy, Illinois citizens face many challenges, such as skyrocketing cost of living, ever-increasing taxation, neglected infrastructure, excessive costs of poor education, and the apparent abandonment of citizens such as our veterans and homeless, to just name a few. Can you elaborate on how you would use your office to help promote programs and initiatives that would pave the way for a better future for Illinois citizens?
So what we would do in our office is we would get rid of all of these administrative agencies and services that are putting the people into involuntary servitude. So the bloated taxes, the wasteful spending, the lack of budgeting, I think any office should know how to balance a budget. And what happens is when the budget is in balance, we tax the people. For instance, Brandon Johnson, you could see this in an article. He said, we need more red light cameras to generate revenue. What? This is what you're doing. You're telling the people that I'm going to tax you more. The tax to put on the people that are successful, businesses. Well, some of those people get tax breaks for hiring certain people. So now you're saying you created your own business and now I can tax you more, which is involuntary servitude, which violates Section 2 of the 13th Amendment. So our office would ensure that there's not wasteful spending. We would definitely work with the Treasury Department, the comptroller, which is Brian Drew, by the way. It's just ways that our office would ensure that the rights of the people are being protected.
That makes a lot of sense, and I can see us going forward with that. To close, Andy, you ran for U.S. president first as Libertarian candidate in 2020, again as Independent in 2024. Now you're running for Illinois Attorney General as a write-in candidate. Is there anything you would like to say to the voters about why they should go to the polls and support your candidacy?
I believe the voters, for the number one reason, if any reason, that you would go to the polls to vote for Andy Williams Jr., because I've never been part of the establishment. In fact, I'm quite the opposite. I'm the one that has sued the establishment. So there's no question about where I stand on when it comes to protecting the rights of the people, because during COVID, I was the first to sue under COVID, under religious freedom. I've sued the state of Illinois, 22 defendants for running a criminal enterprise under RICO. In this office, I would be able to protect the rights of the people because it's in my job description. And so you don't have to worry about, will Andy do this? Andy's already been doing that. So when you want a candidate that will uphold his oath, that will put the people first before politics, that's why you should put your vote for me.
I couldn't say any better myself, Andy. That's very interesting, very profound, too. I'd like to thank our guest, Andy Williams Jr., Republican candidate for Illinois Attorney General, for joining us today and sharing his perspectives and campaign initiatives. If anyone wishes to reach out to Andy, support his campaign, share your concerns, or just even exchange ideas, he can be reached through his website at andyforag.us. That's andyforag.us. Thank you for joining us, Andy. It was a pleasure talking with you.
Thank you, Jack. Thank you.
So much for the cameras. And a special thank you to our viewers. We look forward to continue bringing you interesting conservative information and perspectives. Goodbye.